In the previous video, I set up Guardian authentication and secured an API endpoint in our breweries app. That allowed a user to authenticate using their existing username and password for API authentication with a classic REST API. Now, another popular form of API is GraphQL, so in this video, I'll set up GraphQL with Absinthe. This will let us manage the brewery records and allow users to sign in with the same credentials as before. The first thing I need to do is to add two more packages to our project, Absinthe and Absinthe Plug. Absinthe is the GraphQL toolkit for Elixir that we'll be using. Open up the mix file and navigate to the dependencies section. Here, we'll add both packages in the bottom of the list. After that, save the file and switch to the terminal and run the mix command to fetch and install the new packages. Now that we have our dependencies installed, the first file we need to create is the GraphQL schema. This file acts as the central point that will handle all GraphQL requests in our application. For our initial implementation, we'll focus on two basic features, displaying a list of all breweries and viewing a single brewery. Before we can define these queries, I need to add an import for the brewery types module that we'll create in just a moment. In GraphQL terminology, GET requests that just retrieve data are called queries, so I'll add a query block where I can define our initial queries. These will be the operations that clients can use to fetch brewery data from our API. Now, I need to define the types of queries that can be made and the shape of the data returned. I'll create a new module called brewery types for this purpose. In GraphQL, these definitions are made as objects. An object is a core component of the schema that represents a type with a structured set of fields. Each field has a name and a specific data type. In Absinthe, these objects are designed to resemble ecto-schemas, so they should feel familiar. I'll start by defining an object called brewery. This object will include fields like ID, name, and the other brewery fields, each with their respective data types. By adding description texts using the desk attribute, Absinthe will use these for self-documenting the API. These descriptions will be available to anyone accessing the API, which is a nice touch for readability and maintenance. Hey, thank you for tuning in to the preview of this screencast. If you like this and think it could be helpful, consider subscribing to weekly screencasts about building web apps with Elixir, Phoenix, and LiveView. The videos are aimed towards people new to Elixir, as well as those who still think they have more to learn. If you find this interesting, follow the link in the description, and I hope to see you in the next video.